my darling of the night, how you pulled me from the light.
For me, eating raw was like hitting the sweet spot on the tennis racket. I never felt better in my life. Everything felt great. I felt full of energy, my skin glowed, my eyes got clear. Really worked wonderfully for me. And I started fasting, 7-day fasts, and I did those for 4 years and ultimately started coming to Thailand, where I now do a fast every year. And I think the fast, one of the good things about the fast is it really reinforces raw food. I like to say the first time I did a fast, I managed to stay raw for 3 weeks after that. The second time I did a fast, I managed to stay raw for 3 months after that. The third time, it was more like 6. The thing I know for sure is that you will never feel better in your life. You cannot imagine how full of energy and just wonderful and healthy you feel on raw food. I had a very serious automobile accident 2 years ago. My neck was pulverized, and my back was broken in 3 places. And I was put in an immobilizing brace from my waist to the top of my head that was unbelievably uncomfortable. I mean, nothing could move. And they wanted to see if the bones would heal themselves. And they didn't. And so I had to have surgery after 3 months in that brace. They put 2 titanium rods in my neck and 5 big screws about this long and a thing in the x-ray that looks like a pulley system that's still in my neck, and said, back into this brace after the surgery, and you'll be in it for a minimum of 6 months, because I was 68 at the time, but probably longer because of my age. It takes a long time for bones to heal. That was when I went, I can't stand this for another 6 months. And so then I went 100% raw again. And even though I couldn't move in this brace, I could move my arms, and so I could prepare raw food. And my husband and I did 100% raw, and I was out of the brace in 2 months and 3 weeks. The doctor couldn't believe how quickly my body was able to heal, because that's what raw food does for us. The enzymes in the raw food are there to digest your food so that our body's own enzymes can be used to heal ourselves and to repair bone or whatever else is necessary to bring us to a peak of health. And so that's my ace in the hole. Whenever I'm sick or anyone else, something needs to heal, feed it enzymes, feed it health. That's what raw food's all about. I've always worked out. That's just something that I always loved, even in college. When I went to college in 1958, and they had a course that was required. You had to take body mechanics. Everyone hated it and couldn't wait to get their first semester freshman year over, and I elected that every year all the way through school. I had always wanted to take ballet class as a child, and we lived in the country and I never could. So I did aerobic dancing in New York when I was modeling. I did gymnastics. I was modeling bathing suits on a beach in Puerto Rico in, oh golly, I was about 23 or 24, and a man named Nicholas Konofsky came along and said to the photographer, I want to photograph that girl for the cover of my book. He was writing a book on fitness. So I went back to New York, went to see him, and I was not fit at all at that point. I mean, he said, touch your toes. I could barely make it to my knees. You know, lie on the floor and do sit-ups. I had to roll over and push up on my hands and knees to do a sit-up. So I started working out there. And for all the years I modeled, at the end of every day, no matter how tired I was, I would go to Nicholas Konofsky's gym and work out and do gymnastics. It gave me so much strength. And of course, in the 60s, an awful lot of what we did, Richard Avedon used to shoot the running, jumping, and leaping pictures. He'd be running and jumping and leaping all day. And then I would go and work out. When I became 40, I actually was doing aerobic dancing, and at the end of that class, it sort of started all over, and I stumbled into a jazz class, which was like that. After 2 or 3 weeks in jazz class, the teacher turned to me and said, go to ballet class and learn to turn. Oh, that's all I had to hear. Took my first ballet class at 40 years old. I still take ballet to this. Do yoga. Yoga is a wonderful practice because you can do it at home alone. I prefer class because I really like working out in a group, but I also love to hike, living in Telluride in the mountains. I have climbed Aconcagua in Argentina. I have climbed Kilimanjaro in Africa. I have climbed the Mont Blanc in France. I love climbing uphill. My definition of health is not simply the absence of disease. I don't think the absence of disease means you're healthy at all. Health is something that comes, it bubbles up from inside. Something that we have great control over. If we really want to be healthy, we have to wake up. Gabriel Cousens wrote a wonderful book called Conscious Eating. We have to get conscious. We have to pay attention to what we're doing to our earth, what we're putting in our bodies, what we're putting on our skin. We need to pay attention. And when we do, we create these wonderful, healthy bodies. It is healthier for us to not eat animal protein. We don't need it. We get so much protein from the healthy fruits and vegetables and nuts and things that don't harm our planet and don't hurt us. I understand that being a vegan is very often more than simply a nutritional choice. And I'd love to recommend a book, The China Study. It really puts down the story for veganism. While I think it's a wonderful thing to be able to be 100% raw all the time, I am not 100% raw all the time. I have been 100% raw for very long periods in my life. For example, when my daughter was sick, I ran a 100% raw household to help her get well, and it did. It was just amazing. To eat a large portion of organic raw foods. Our soil has been so depleted. Over the last 100 years, we've gone from 100 inches of topsoil on this planet to 6 inches. So the soil doesn't have the nutrients to put into the foods. The food we get today, even organic food, is not nearly as nutritious as what was available on our planet 100 years ago. So shop organic, look for organic foods, and eat them raw as much as possible. I think 80% raw is absolutely ideal, optimum. If you can only get to 50% raw, it's a great way to start. And I think most people will find that when they start doing it, you feel so good, you want to do more. And another thing is, an awful lot of people think that raw foodists live on, I don't know, melons and salad. Not at all. I really get into a lot of fairly exotic food preparation things that are not difficult, but they're creative. I mean, I like to do spaghetti and meatballs. Invite someone over for spaghetti and meatballs, and it can be completely raw. The spaghetti you can make out of zucchini. There's a little machine that does that. Meatballs are all kinds of veggies that I put through my Champion juicer and into the dehydrator. They're crunchy and crispy, and they're just delicious. Depending on whatever, garlic, onions, beets, carrots, whatever you put into them. And the tomato sauce, of course, is fresh tomatoes and sun-dyed tomatoes. You can also heat food. People say, well, it's cold in the winter. I've got to have warm foods. I make soups. You can heat soups. Heat them to 100 degrees. Heat them to 105 degrees. Hotter than that, they'll burn your mouth, and the enzymes are still alive. And still, the enzymes are the source of the spark of life in our bodies. I mean, without enzymes, we couldn't have a thought. We couldn't move a finger. A flower couldn't grow. We have to have enzymes, and we get them from raw foods. And as we get older, our bodies manufacture fewer and fewer enzymes, and that's why it becomes more important. The older we get, the more important it is to eat raw.
Oh, my darling of the night, how you pull me from the light, calling me to lay down by your side. Oh, my darling of the night, though I knew you weren't right, still I'd do whatever you decide. 'Cause you're